The Bible establishes that Adam and Eve are the progenitors of all humanity and that they had 3 sons, Cain, Abel, and Seth. But then, how did other humans arise from these 5 central figures? It is worth noting that in Genesis chapter 4, verse 17, the sacred scriptures tell us that Cain knew his wife. She conceived and gave birth to Enoch. Cain was building a city and named it Enoch after his son. Now I ask you, could this mysterious woman whom Cain married have been one of the daughters of Adam and Eve? Today we will discover everything about the daughters of Adam and Eve, who they were, why they are not mentioned in the Bible, and how they contributed to the propagation of the human race. As usual, I ask for your subscription to the channel, and let's go to the video. The biblical narrative often focuses on the story of Cain and Abel, 2 of the best-known sons of Adam and Eve. This tendency sometimes obscures the presence and trajectories of the other sons and daughters of this first family of humanity. While Cain and Abel feature in crucial events such as the fateful episode of the sacrifice, it is essential to shift our focus to the less-mentioned children to gain a more comprehensive understanding of Adam and Eve's descendants. The Bible in Genesis 5 verse 4 mentions that Adam and Eve had other sons and daughters beyond Cain and Abel. However, details about these sons and daughters are sparse, and the narrative primarily deepens in the events involving Cain and Abel. This creates a gap in understanding the experiences and destinies of the other family members whose lives also played significant roles in shaping the fabric of human history. By exploring these forgotten stories, we can understand the diversity of destinies and paths followed by the children of Adam and Eve. This broader approach provides a more comprehensive view of humanity's descent and allows us to appreciate the complexity of familial relationships and individual journeys. Each son and daughter, even if not the center of attention in the Bible, contributed uniquely to the propagation of the human race on earth. Before proceeding, are you facing problems in your marriage or relationship with your wife or husband? In the first pinned link, you will find an ebook full of guidance and guided prayers that can change your life. This guide not only promises to improve your personal and professional situation, but also ensures that your family relationship is blessed. By following the strong prayers included, you will see a transformation in your spiritual and marital life. Fights, arguments, and other family problems will disappear, paving the way for the realization of your dreams. This ebook is more than a resource. It is a step towards peace and happiness in the home. Don't let difficulties dominate your life. Access the link now, purchase the ebook, and begin the journey to a more prosperous and harmonious future. With the strategies and prayers in this guide, you can dispel the clouds of discord. It is intriguing how Jewish and Christian traditions on many occasions tend to sideline the stories of characters, giving more prominence to the more dramatic narratives. It seems that the absence of specific names in the Bible for these daughters contributes to their stories being marginalized, keeping them in anonymity while Cain and Abel assume centralized roles. On the other hand, it is perfectly understandable that the Bible cannot address the life of every character. It is virtually impossible to cover the vastness of information from the creation of the world to the end of time in a single book. In this sense, secondary books such as the Book of Jubilees emerged, although not widely recognized, as an alternative source that explores details about some lesser-known figures, including the daughters of Adam and Eve. These characters, so to speak, forgotten, provide a broader perspective on the extensive descent of the first couple. However, it is crucial to emphasize that the Book of Jubilees is considered apocryphal, meaning it is not officially part of the canon of the Jewish or Christian Bible. In simple terms, it is not considered a sacred scripture by the main religious traditions, mainly due to a lack of consensus on its authorship and origin, and interpretations that diverge from the more accepted versions. Nonetheless, the historical relevance of the Book of Jubilees cannot be underestimated. It offers a unique insight into the events narrated in Genesis, especially those related to the creation of the world, Adam and Eve, and other characters of the Old Testament. Its nickname of Little Genesis reflects its direct connection with the events and figures described in the Book of Genesis. This apocryphal book provides a detailed interpretation of history, going beyond what we find in the Bible, including naming the daughters of Adam and Eve and detailing their lives. This narrative is particularly valuable to some Jewish and Christian communities that seek additional understandings of key events in the Old Testament. Knowing this, as we explore the records of the Book of Jubilees in search of the names of the daughters of Adam and Eve, we come across the characters Kalima and Azura, identified as the wives of Cain and Seth, respectively. In the book of Genesis, more precisely in chapter 4, verses 16 and 17, we find the following account. Cain withdrew from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain cohabited with his wife, and she conceived and gave birth to Enoch. Later, Cain built a city and named it Enoch, naming it in honor of his son. In some Jewish traditions, Kalima, also known as Awan, is recognized as the wife of Cain, the firstborn of Adam and Eve. Her name, although not recorded in the Bible, is mentioned in apocryphal texts such as the Book of Jubilees. The etymology of her name, often associated with Hebrew or Phoenician, suggests meanings such as vice or potency. As the wife of Cain, her name may symbolize the strength or influence she exerts in the lineage initiated by the firstborn of Adam and Eve. At the same time, the connotation of vice might reflect the challenges faced by Cain and Kalima amidst the adverse circumstances that marked their lives. After his exile, Cain found Awan, and the biblical narrative highlights that he founded the city of Enoch, naming it in honor of his son. The Book of Jubilees also mentions this city as one of Cain's achievements after the tragic incident involving Abel. Presented in parallel with Cain, Awan emerges as an essential link in the lineage, becoming a central figure in significant events after Cain's banishment due to the murder of Abel. Although it is true that the sacred texts of the Bible do not identify Cain's wife nor reveal her origin, as we trace Genesis up to the moment of Cain's banishment and his encounter with the mentioned woman, few characters are cited, including Adam, Eve, and his brothers Abel and Seth. However, it is important to consider that when Cain joined Awan, the earth was already quite populated. At this point in history, there were certainly more than just 5 individuals, including other women besides Eve. Some suggestions indicate that Cain's wife could have been a niece of his, a daughter of Seth. This idea is based on the long period from Cain's exile in the land of Nod until his encounter with Awan. Some theologians admit that this span of time lasted about 300 years. During this interval, it is estimated that the number of children of Adam and Eve exceeded 50, and likewise the number of children of Seth surpassed 20. We can conclude that at the time of Cain, Seth, and the other children of Adam and Eve, it was common for them to marry among themselves, including siblings or nieces, as humanity was starting from a single couple. When Cain considered marrying, there were several sisters and nieces available, which made it not difficult for him to find a consanguineous wife. This practice of marrying among siblings persisted for a long period. The Bible makes it clear that all the human race descends from Adam and Eve, and any contrary theory lacks biblical foundation as expressed in Acts 17, verse 26. From one man he made all the nations that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. This perspective clarifies the dynamics of relationships at the time and the formation of humanity from a single original couple. The practice of marrying a sister or niece was considered socially acceptable in this early context of humanity when the population derived from a single couple. It is crucial to understand that the laws prohibiting marriage between close relatives, such as those established in the Mosaic Law, were instituted much later than the events involving Adam and Eve, approximately 2,500 years later. These laws were part of the covenant with Moses, establishing ethical and moral standards for the Israelite community. Only with the significant increase in population was the prohibition of sexual relations between close relatives forbidden, with the aim of preventing negative consequences such as the risk of genetic defects and health problems resulting from consanguineous mating. The other daughter of Adam and Eve, detailed in the Book of Jubilees, known as Azura, is recognized as the wife of Seth, the third son of Adam and Eve. Her symbolic association with the blue sky or lapis lazuli hints at a celestial purity, and her name is a reflection of the uniqueness she represents in the narrative. As the wife of Seth, Azura directly influences the continuation of the just lineage, contributing to the preservation of virtues and values in the biblical genealogy. It is worth remembering that Seth was born after the death of Abel. Eve believed that he had been designated by God to establish a new lineage in replacement for Abel, who was killed by Cain. According to these traditions, Azura was initially the wife of Abel and became a widow after his death. Soon after, she married Seth, and from this union sprang notable descendants. Seth is a key character in the biblical genealogy and plays a significant role in the continuity of the just lineage after the tumultuous episode involving Cain. His union with Azura resulted in contributions that shaped key events in the Bible. Among the children of Seth, Enos stands out, whose name means mortal man. Enos is recognized for being the first to develop the custom of invoking the name of the Lord, establishing a spiritual connection that would become a central practice in subsequent religious traditions. In addition to Enos, Enoch, the son of Seth, figures as one of the notable personalities of this lineage. Enoch is known for his exceptional closeness to God, to the point of walking with God according to the biblical account. His life of righteousness and communion with the divine stands out as a unique contribution, representing an example of devotion that transcended his time. Due to these factors, Enoch was one of the only human beings who did not experience death. He was taken up to be with God. However, one of the most significant contributions from the lineage of Seth is Noah, the righteous builder of the ark during the flood. Noah, son of Lamech and grandson of Seth, was chosen by God to preserve humanity and the diversity of creatures during the global cataclysm. His obedience and faith, as recorded in the narrative of the flood, outline the importance of Seth's lineage in realizing God's plans for the redemption of humanity. Each individual in this lineage played a crucial role in building the human legacy and preserving faith and justice amid the challenges faced by their generations. The religious traditions, especially when exploring the lineages of Cain and Awan in contrast with Seth and Azura, offer an intriguing duality in the human condition, expressed through moral and spiritual choices. Cain, as the firstborn of Adam and Eve, epitomizes a trajectory marked by choices that reflect human failure. In contrast, the lineage of Seth and Azura offers a narrative of moral and spiritual choices more aligned with the divine will. These two lineages, despite their stark differences, hold their importance and reflect the inherent duality of the human condition, with moral and spiritual choices shaping the destiny of subsequent generations. Here I emphasize once again that the Book of Jubilees is considered apocryphal, meaning it is not officially recognized by the main religious traditions, both Jewish and Christian. All this information about the daughters of Adam and Eve may vary according to different interpretations and religious beliefs. A curious interpretation, for example, occurs in Islam. According to Islamic tradition, both Cain and Abel had a twin sister each. Over the years, they grew up and became their respective wives, according to the Book of the Generations of Adam. Their names were Balira and Kamana. These sisters even played a part in the discontent that led to the conflict between the brothers, as Cain was dissatisfied with his partner. These conflicts would eventually evolve, and Cain would later kill Abel. But that is a topic for another video. Now I want to hear your opinions. Did you know that Adam and Eve had daughters? Do you think the information contained in the Book of Jubilees